Part 3 of What If Deku Had Bendy's Powers. Last where we left off, Deku, turned into his beast form and went on a rampage on the USJ, basically killing the Nomu, fighting All Might, and a whole lot more happened. If y'all want to know more, watch the previous part. Now, we go to Deku, who's basically unconscious. He had no idea what happened. No recollection of the beast form taking control. And no one really knows. I don't think he showed this form off to anyone yet. So they don't know it was Deku. Now, we know that the Ink Demon is working on something in the background in Deku's mind. We may get to see something of that today. But let's get right back on into it. So, he was unconscious. Of course, they arrested the villains. They took Midoriya to a hospital because he was unconscious, just to check to make sure no one was wounded. The same thing they would do in canon, pretty much. The only thing different is they did not capture the Nomu for study, because Deku just straight up killed it. I'm not going to. I'm just gonna say that. But anyway, he goes back to the school, and he's looking forward to the next day as he's back and all that, ready for the next day of school as he's talking with some of his classmates. Now, of course, there will be a bunch of students in the hall, and they're quite irritated and all that because they're blocking their way home. As Bendy's like, you know what, why don't we take the scenic route? As the class looks over at him, the scenic route? Yep. As basically, he teleports through the ink with like 4 friends, and they teleport to, let's just say the cafeteria. Because he can only teleport to places he's been. With the exception of touching an item. Which I'll go in detail later. As they're in the cafeteria, and we'll say it's Uraraka, Sue, Ida, and Tokiyami, why not? And they thank him for getting them out of that situation. And he's like, no problem. Although, why were they even at the door? As Ida, starts to explain, probably to scope us out for the sports festival. As Deku's like, the sports festival? Isn't that the event UA hosts every year? Yes. And a lot of heroes are going to be doing it. But why would they continue to have the sports festival after this recent villain attack? Tokiyami says. Probably to make sure that we're not scared of villains and all that. To show that they don't scare us? Deku says. Yeah, that's probably right. Well, anyway, he basically pulls like a bag out of the ink and's like, I gotta go home, I gotta get some tickets, and I'm off to the station. As if I remember Deku, he has to take a train to get to UA. So, yeah. He basically does the ride and all that. We skip a little bit. Through this time, he's talked with a lot of students of Class 1A, Class 1B. He's gotten to be more friends with them, within the brief time frame and all that. Now, he has been doing some training. So we go to him in training in the forest, where he's just using his quirk, destroying some trees, trying to figure it out more. He's used his beast form, and he's trying to figure out what happened to make him lose control. Because he just, blinked there. No, correction of what happened. As he then transforms back, as then he, hits his head, and he rubs his head as he had hit a branch while he was detransforming and, running. As he's rubbing his head, he then gets, he turns around and he gets punched square in the face by something. As it knocks him out. As, the Ink Demon takes control. As he gets back up, if it isn't some wimpy assassins. As they pull out guns and start firing at, Deku. as it simply goes straight through the ink demon. As they're scared, I figured you'd want to get rid of us as soon as possible. As they keep up firing with their guns, which have no effect, by the way, they're just going straight through the ink. Like, I don't think, even with if you were in Bendy in the ink machine, I don't think bullets would hurt him. He's a liquid. He's technically made of a liquid. Well, back on topic. As he simply, stretches his hand and swipes it, making like an ink blade. Now, some of them are not scared because, well, it's ink. It's not going to cut them. That's their thought process. Until they see the guy in front get chopped in half by the ink. Then they try to take cover, and a few of them did manage to take cover. The ones that failed had their heads chopped off. As he starts walking toward them. So let me guess. If y'all can tell me correctly of the person I'm thinking who sent you, I'll let you live. As he's looking at the 3 would-be assassins, which were just some thugs. So, was it Tomura Shigaraki? Or Shigaraki, you know. As one of them says yes. You were quick to answer, as the 2 spikes of ink come out of the ground, piercing the 2 villains in the heart, leaving the one that told him correctly to live. As he leans down, now listen very closely. I do appreciate you knocking out my host. As the thugs, like, host? Yes, me and this kid share a body, along with one more. But I have to thank you. I get to have some fun. He's gonna be out for at least an hour or 2. Which means I can cause all the mayhem I want in that time. And just to make sure you don't do anything, he puts his hand over the, terrified villain, as ink covers him, as he's like an ink statue just standing there as he's in terror. There, I did say you could live. I wonder how long you last. As he walks away, as imagine a guy just stuck in ink like a statue. That's what he did to the villain. As he goes towards the city. Ah, yes. As he looks around. So many people. So many to kill. As he then contemplates. As then he gets like a little sting in his head. It seems like his philosophy is still trying to stop me. As he swipes to his side, as he's walking down an alleyway. And he was originally just going to wait until someone comes down this alleyway to kill someone. Until he sees Stain and a hero on the ground. Of course, this hero is already dead. As the ink demon doesn't care and sends a few slashes with ink. But Stain easily dodges them. Oh, it looks like it's been a while. Have I gotten rusty? As he then just swings his arm, sending a huge blade, cutting the walls a bit, as it stops before it goes into the alleyway, because he doesn't want to cause too much attention. He still wants to keep himself a secret for the time being. As Stain looks over and throws some daggers at him, which do hit Deku, or Ink Demon, as they just sink into his skin. No blood was spilt. It didn't have any effect on him. As they simply just come out his back and fall to the ground. I have to admit, you think those little blades are going to do anything against me, the Ink Demon? As he then, throws a few more slashes of ink, which are dodged by Stain, who is very mobile and pretty fast, especially in alleyways. As he then just turns invisible when he takes his gaze off, when Stain takes his gaze off him. As Stain looking around and wondering where'd he go. As then he does a, fist and throws it down at Stain, sending him down from out of the air, hitting the ground. Wow, you managed to resist that. As he looks down, see that Stain's sword was broken. And he had used the sword to, take the blow, pretty much. You know what, I can't say many that could have done that. As then, Stain just smiles. As the Ink Demon's confused. As he looks up, it sees several swords and like knives coming straight down at Deku as it hits all over. But Satan is shocked when all the knives simply just go through. Man, you can't harm me with just measly weapons. You're just like the guys that try to use firearms on me. I gotta admit, I didn't pretty much enjoy that. So, I guess I could do you a little favor. As he just stretches out his arm to go stab Stain. But he swiftly moves his, remaining of his sword and cuts off the Ink Demon's hand, which does separate the hand, as it falls to the ground, turning into a puddle of ink, as he, retracts his hand and just regrows it. As Stain knows this is a losing battle, so he quickly gets out of there. And the Ink Demon doesn't really follow. As he simply looks up. You know what? I'll let you go this time. As he just walks away. As then, we went back to the forest, the same area where Deku had transformed. But he got rid of all the bodies, so Deku would not realize that he took control, he had killed people, just trying to keep himself hidden from even Deku. Thinking it was just he hit a tree and all that. You know, just trying to keep himself a secret. As Deku wakes up, oh, what happened? That's right, I hit a branch. As he just, smiles and makes his way home. As we look behind a tree that Deku had passed, and we see the person that was, basically covered in ink and is like a statue, but covered in solid ink. As he had just walked by the tree. He didn't see the person, but I thought that would be a little interesting bit to add on. And we skip to the time of, the sports festival. Of course, he's sitting down talking with his classmates, Ochako, Sue, Ida, basically everyone. They're discussing about their plans for the sports festival. Except Bakugo, who is just blatant about it, saying, I'm going to win, I'm going to be the number one hero. His little same old thing. As he works on, trying to come up with a plan on what he's trying to think would be the best solution for the first event. I'm going to have him, and I'm just going to take a pause from the video here, and you'll still hear this for all you watching this video. Deku can use his ink just to technically teleport to the end of the race. And I mean to the end of the race in the first part, but I'm not going to have him do that. I'm going to have him go through and make it be like something fun. So, just to let y'all know. Anyway, let's get right back on into it. As, of course, they are at the sports festival, and Bakugo does his little thing saying, I'm going to be the best, all that. Which really gets a lot of hate on Class 1A. Yeah. Bakugo pretty much is like, you're all our enemies, we will destroy you. Pretty much. As they do the first thing, and Deku does this because it's crowded, because they're all trying to run through the one exit to go around. He simply just slides on top of the wall with his ink, and he's looking down and just waving. Hey, why don't y'all just get on this wall? We can easily make it through all these people. As he says that, not a lot of people have the quirks to do that. Of course, Todoroki does freeze, and catching a lot of people off guard, freezing them in place, but quite a few does make their way through. So, as they continue making their way forward to the 0 pointers, this is where Deku simply just creates a hammer and simply just hits the ground, basically sending him forward as he's flying towards one of the 0 pointers. As he sees he's in first place for the meantime, And he's like, oh, as he sees like a whole bunch of, well, robot fists going straight for him. As like, we take a stop midair as he's thinking in thought, there's exactly 3 zero-pointer hands coming straight at me. Do I make bendy clones? Do I hammer it and go straight on over? Or do I just turn to ink and go around its body? The third option is the fastest. As the very first zero-pointer that hits him, he simply just turns into ink and crawls around the zero-pointer's body. Or the ink moves around his body. And he simply just comes out the back and starts sliding away. As he's, well, basically at the second obstacle. And of course, the students haven't reached the first obstacle at this point. As he's a bit stuck, oh no, this is going to be a little bit of a trouble. Because Deku does not have anything, well, really to do with flying. What to do. As then, he gets an idea, and we just see a light bulb over his head. That's it! As a ink plane appears. He creates an ink plane, like one of those old fighter planes in World War I. As he gets in, and puts on his glasses. Alright, as we hear the engine start up. As he starts flying off. You know what? This reminds me of a World War I story I once heard. Deku says, wasn't that like... But then he was just really thought of a World War I plane. I'm just gonna say that. That's why he came up with the plane. And he starts flying and sees the class and other students had just arrived. As he just waves out of his, plane and then just simply puts a sign up. It's a big sign saying, "See you at the finish." As he just simply flies forward, heading straight towards the finish line. Of course, he's going to be flying over the minefield, and pretty much just lands in the tunnel, and appears in the main area to claim first place. I'm just going to say this real quick. Thank you for the person that recommended this. This has been an amazing and fun story. But of course, later the students all get there, and, they just have they just finish, they all wrap up. If I remember, there was a total of 42 students that passed. I believe that was the total number. And I think only 10 made to the finale? 10 or 15 made to the finale, I'm pretty sure. But anyway, of course they start gathering up teams and all of that. As Bendy's like, who could I have on my team? And this is where it changes up a bit. We're gonna have Mei Hatsume, we're gonna have, I'm gonna replace Ochako with Sue for this one. I'm gonna keep Tokiyami because he was pretty good in the actual tournament for the cavalry battle. And who else was on his team? I'm just gonna throw a random person from class 1B, and it's going to be, you know what, the person that can basically turn I believe solids into a liquid and turn them back. He was actually a pretty powerful quirk user, in my opinion. But anyway, we go to that. As they're doing the cavalry battle, of course, everyone's coming for Deku as he is the, 1 million headband. Except Deku can hide this anywhere. It could be in his arm, it could be in his sleeve, it could be in his bow tie, it could be in his top hat. I know he doesn't have a top hat, I just wanted to put that in there. Because he just creates a top hat and puts it on his head. As things start off, of course, everyone comes to them. And this is what Bendy says. Everyone, hang on. As he makes just a surface area where people are just going to slip over ink and all that. As they're just standing in a plain area. Of course, Todoroki's going to come over and try to freeze it, get over there to him, etc. Bakugo as well. And it didn't end well for that. And I'm changing some things up, Baku's headband gets taken, and he does not get enough points to pass. As we have these amount of students that pass, and I'm not going in depth with the cavalry battle because it would be hard for me to go in depth with that. It's very confusing. And so these people make it into the finals. Shinso, Todoroki, Tokiyami, Mira, Ida as well. I'm just gonna say Ida made it. Sue is replacing Ochako in this one. And we're gonna give Monoma a chance in this one. I feel like he didn't really give enough credit to shine. And you'll maybe asking why. And it was simply because, well, I felt like we needed to give Monoma some credit. I don't like the guy in particular. I just thought he is a very interesting quirk, and I wanted to see what would happen if he made it to the finale. So we're gonna do that. And I'm just gonna say the rest of the lineup stays the same. Now I'm not gonna go over every battle of the last tournament of the sports festival. First one goes pretty clearly. Deku does get mind controlled, but then a ink hand comes out of nowhere and smacks Shinso straight out of the arena. As we go to the mindscape, and it was the big beast Deku's hand that did it. As he smiles, "You're having fun, aren't you?" As it doesn't say anything. "You're glad our host was under that mind control. Or else you would have been caught red-handed." As the beast just simply doesn't respond. As we go back to Deku, who just snapped out of it when he heard he had won. And he's confused because he had no idea what happened. But people say it's like a quirk reflex. So like a defense mechanism some quirks have. Say if you have like a beast quirk and you go like rabid, like you're in such a dire situation, you don't know what to do, and you lose complete control. It shuts off your brain and everything because you're in pure survival mode. Kind of like that. Of course, the next matches end up the same. We get to Shoto versus Bendy. Of course, he's gonna try to end this off the bat with an ice glacier. He just simply appears behind him, hits him with a bat, sending him into the ice. Again, doesn't really do much to Todoroki. Does get a little bit of injury of blunt damage with the hammer, but he uses ice and tries to freeze Bendy. Yeah, that's not gonna work. He just keeps popping in and out of ink area, because Todoroki doesn't realize this. In the beginning of the fight, he had slowly been dividing ink around the area in case he did an attack like that. Of course, several of the other ink areas that have been blocked off he can't pop out of again. So he simply has to send like his own version of attack that are slowly but surely spreading ink across the arena in areas that have not been covered by ice. As Todoroki doesn't realize that one of the ink bottles landed on the ice glacier next to him. As Bendy just comes out with a fist and simply just punches him in the face, sending him back a bit, close to the end, but he uses his ice to stop himself. And this is when he starts using his fire. As, of course, Deku is going to give him that speech saying all that. It's not your father's, it's yours. That. As he gets the courage and all that, as he sends a huge, powerful attack, as Bendy's like, "Oh, we going full out?" We just see like a full-on, medieval type cannon, as Bendy's standing on top of it, and it's about the size of the blast that Todoroki is sending it. As he's like, "Fire up!" As he lights the match and covers his ears, as it fires in like an ink shell. Of course, it collides with Todoroki's attack. Unfortunately, Todoroki's attack is stronger and heat can vaporize ink, so it ends up paying Deku and saying him out of the arena. So Todoroki does still win as in canon, but way differently. And that is the end of What If Deku Had Bendy's Powers for the Sports Festival. Hopefully you all enjoyed. Remember to like and subscribe.